Welcome to the Sherry Welsh Coaching Podcast. This is Phil Johnson, and joining me today is leadership coach and author Sherry Welsh of sherrywelsh.com. Sherry coaches individuals privately and also works with groups within companies. And you can get her book, which is titled Slowing Down: Unexpected Ways to Thrive as a Female Leader, from any major book retailer. Sherry, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Phil. It's great to be here.
Now, Sherry, last time we started talking about an overarching topic that we're going to continue today, which is, are you loving what you do, your job, your career, or are you simply tolerating it? And today we want to talk about one thing that may stand between us and loving what we're doing, and that is going through the interview process. Whether you're young and concerned that you don't have a lot of experience, or you're a little bit older and maybe don't want to go through the hassle or take a risk on a new position, interviewing is kind of a bear that all of us need to face at one time or another. So maybe you can introduce this topic from your experience with your clients.
Sure. So I've come up with this a couple times, or more than a couple times, in my own life as I was making a decision to move from Bosch to another company. And then with clients, I'm constantly being faced with how to help them see that the interviewing process is not something to be dreading or frustrated about or thinking it's going to be really difficult. It's really something that you can enjoy and have fun with and relax around and look at it as an opportunity to step into different possibilities that you may not have considered before, and to explore what's out there. So exploring and opening up to possibilities where there's really no limit is level 6 energy. And we talk a lot about the different levels of energy in our podcast. The 7 levels of energy leadership, we broke down into several podcasts, and you can get them on the website to brush up on those. But when we talk about level 6, it's really the visionary, the inspiring, no limits possibilities. There's nothing in the way of accomplishing it. So the interviewing process is one of the first steps in getting into that space and opening it up and allowing it to surface. So that's what I found with clients. It's really an area that we can explore quite a bit on.
Yeah. So if a client comes to you and they're in the middle of a job search and they're really not enjoying the process, they're not at all in this mindset that you're describing of allowing their level 6 visionary, creative energy to surface, what would you do with them? What's the process you'd bring them through to help them see the interviewing process differently?
Yeah, so normally, and from my own experience, this is where my mind used to be as well, is, okay, I got to look good. I got to make sure that, I tell them what they want to hear so that they pick me. That's typically what you're going in with. And what I find with clients, and it can vary depending on where they are in their career. So clients that I'm working with that are new into the workforce, they've graduated from college or they're getting ready to finish graduate school, and they haven't had a lot of experience. They've had a couple internships or summer jobs, but as far as getting ready for interviews, they're getting a little apprehensive. The self-doubt is starting to kick in. Well, maybe I don't have enough experience for this type of job. Maybe I'm not ready for this. Maybe this company is going to be too big and I don't know if I'll fit in. So all of the fears and doubts that kick in, and these are the barriers that we talk about in one of our podcasts on the barriers to success. There are different limiting beliefs that show up, different interpretations of companies, of the market, of the competition, who else is out there. So all of that is starting to feed a story in your head as to how worthy you are of this particular job or not. So when the clients that I'm working with are not as seasoned in the workforce, I usually work with them around what skills they've developed both while they were in college, in different classes and different teams that they've been a part of. Sometimes if they played a sport, I bring in the skills that they learned being a member of a team in a sport. We also talk about the summer jobs they've had and what skills they developed in those summer jobs. And I can tell you from my own experience, I was a waitress and a lifeguard in the summers of college. I didn't do the classic internship in a company route. I did the fun, easy jobs. And I loved it. And I really enjoyed my summers, obviously. And what I realize now is I did develop skills in those jobs that applied to the jobs I ended up getting. And if I knew then what I know now, I would have spoken differently about those skills. So what I found is I'm able to help clients really fine-tune their story about what's true for them. What did they learn? What's useful in what they've learned in that summer job or at school that they can imagine applying to this new job, given what they know about the job. And so a lot of times, you got to get more transparency around what you're applying for. So I will encourage clients to go out on the websites of these companies, really explore what the company is up to, see if there's anything in their news releases and press material that's come out recently that's really interesting that they connect with personally. It could be that they've opened up a new plant, a new facility, a new location in Mexico, and they have relatives in Mexico. Okay, so that's interesting. So there's ways to do some prep work before you go into the interview to really look at why this company would be really fun for me to be a part of. What are they up to in the world? How does that really sound enjoyable for me? Which is getting into your level 6 energy. What's really enjoyable about this? What would be interesting? How do I imagine myself there? What can I see really contributing to what they're doing? And so now you're starting, even if you don't have a lot of experience in the workforce, you're starting to see that you could already make a difference in that company. And so it starts to build your confidence. It starts to build a different story than the one of self-doubt. You're now building a story of, ooh, you know what? I can see myself there. Actually, it would be kind of interesting to be a part of that. And so now you're going to come to the interview with a different level of energy.
You're kind of going through the process of choosing the company as well as them choosing you. Exactly.
And that's where the difference comes into play. Now you're stepping into it like, wow, you know what? I can really see me making a difference here, and they'd be really lucky to get me.
Yeah.
Versus, I really hope they pick me. Right. Totally different mindset. And so that energy goes along with that. And the interviewer on the other side can feel what you're coming in with. They can feel whether you're coming in confident, relaxed, curious about how this might be a good fit for both of you.
Right.
Versus desperation of, I hope you pick me.
Yeah. So that's really coming in with the level 6 energy of exploring. And that ties in with our theme. You're mentioning seeing what at this new company would be really enjoyable for me to do. That's a step towards creating a work environment for yourself where you love what you do. And then also tying in level 5, the partnering together with a company where it's a win-win. You can really contribute to their mission, to whatever it is they're trying to do in the world. And it's at the same time, it's also something that's a good fit for you and your interests and values. Versus, I guess, where would you put coming in with the thought, I hope they pick me, down in level 2 or level 3, perhaps?
Yeah. Actually, it's more, honestly, level 1, that I'm a victim, I don't have any power, and it's all in their hands to pick me.
Yeah.
Versus me coming in with, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to share with them what I see, what I can imagine, what I envision, which is level 6, I could do as a part of this company. So it's a huge difference in approach. And so if we talk about level 2 energy, which is something where, if you're in a job that you're tolerating and you're really not enjoying it as much as you would like to and you have in the past, perhaps, now you're down in level 3 energy. Well, now you're starting to think, I got to get out of here. I can't take it anymore. I can't stand it. I got to find something else. Now you're going at the job search with a level 2. I have to find something else.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, there's no way I'm going to take another day here. So now you're starting to build some resentment for the current company you're a part of. And that transfers into how you show up in job applications and interviews, assuming you get an interview even, because it can even come across in the job application. So with that, you're now already defeated before you go into the door. And it's not going to be a very productive way of spending your time, going through the motions of an interview that you feel, you have to do, and you have to tolerate it just to get through it, to get the job, because you can't stand another day where you are. And that's just not a fun place to be, and it's not an enjoyable life. And we're talking about creating a life that you love. And that includes your work life, it includes your personal life. So if you're not happy in working all day and you're there 9-10 hours a day, you're clearly not going to translate as you cross over the door at home to be in a fun-loving, happy place.
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
I hated what I did all day, but now that I'm home, I'm happy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't, it's not a flip switch that you turn on and off. It just doesn't work that way. So what I find is that more and more people that I'm working with, especially clients that have been in the workforce for a while and are seasoned, they've had jobs for a while, they know what they like, they know what they don't like, and they're ready to make a change. It could be that leadership has changed and they're going in a different direction. It could be that you just want to explore something different. So when I work with clients that are more seasoned, it's the same fundamentals. It's the same, okay, let's talk about what would be really fun for you to do next. What would be really interesting that you can take the skills that you've developed up to this point and apply them, transfer them to this new company or new position. And I have to tell you that a lot of the clients that I work with, initially start out with some fear about the interviewing process because they haven't interviewed in 10, 15, 20 years. That was my case when I was at Bosch. I was contemplating making a change out of Bosch after 20 years. And I'm like, oh my God, I haven't interviewed in years. I don't even know what to do. So I caught myself with a lot of self-doubt, a lot of explaining myself, a lot of kind of over-talking, over-compensating for everything that I had done and minimizing maybe what I had done and trying to make up stories about how to make it look good, look better, look more impressive. It was already impressive in its own right. Everybody's career path is impressive, even if you've lost your jobs all along the way. Mm-hmm. That's what's even more impressive, that you picked yourself up and you got another one.
Yeah.
So that's definitely no story is a bad story. There's always something. I've worked with a client recently who said, I'm kind of embarrassed because I haven't gotten a job. I keep getting turned down. It doesn't work. Or I got let go a couple times. I'm like, all right, well, let's talk about what happened in those scenarios that you learned. And how can you take what you learned from those times and really make it different this time? Mm-hmm. And those stories are inspiring for people to hear that, wow, that you were let go, or wow, you're staying at it, you're persevering, I love that in somebody versus I've been in the same company for 20 years because it was easy. Yeah. That's not as inspiring to people. So it's really, a way of looking at it and coming to the table with, all right, what would be really enjoyable for me? What would I love to do? And how does this company benefit by having someone like me join them?
Yeah.
So it's definitely not egotistical and arrogant. It's truly, genuinely looking at, honestly, what have I done up to this point? And I'm really kind of proud of that. And how can I then share that with this new company and make a difference there?
Yeah. So I guess to this point, and I think this has been really helpful, we've mainly been talking about sort of the mindset we bring to the whole process of searching for a job, the interview process, the mindset, the energy, the attitude. Can you talk a little bit more about the interview itself? Is there any kind of advice you have for, being in an actual interview?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a great question, because I had a client recently who was younger. She's, out of college a couple years. She did very well in college, went to a very prestigious college, and she kept interviewing at good companies, strong companies. and wasn't getting hired. She would make it to like the final round, the last 2 candidates, and she wasn't getting picked. So we did a couple sessions around it, and we talked about, all right, tell me what's going on in the actual interview, what's happening. And what we discovered is that she was spending so much of her time talking about herself, explaining herself, talking about what she thinks hypothetically she could do, and not getting more transparency around what this company's really looking for and how to connect the dots to have what she's done up to that point perfectly play into it. So it's just like we talk about in the work we do together, right, in energy leadership, is being really fully present and really listening. So we talk about strong listening skills. So when she worked on this and really took herself out of it, out of her head, out of her image of how she wanted to portray herself, and instead walked into the interview and started to have interviews differently with the understanding that, oh, okay, what I've done so far, I'm pretty proud of, and I'd like to share the skills that I've learned with this particular company in this particular role. So that was the first step, doing the prep work to get there. And then as she was in the interview, she started having different conversations about it. She was starting to explore more from their side. You know, what are they up to? Like what in this role, who have they had in it so far, and what worked really well for them? Maybe what was some of the challenges that they had in this role in the past? What would they like to see this role do now that's different than what it's done before? Yeah. And how does this role make a difference in what the company is up to? So she would do the prep work to get ready to go into that interview, knowing that the company is in these different markets, it's in these different regions, it has these products, and what she was passionate about. So we're getting back to, Phil, what we originally started with is loving what you do. That you're choosing to have a discussion, an interview, it's called, we'll call it a discussion, a conversation, about whether this would be a great fit to do something that you would love to do. Right. And the company benefits by having someone like you who's so passionate about their work, showing up every day, loving what they're doing.
Right.
So it does take a little prep work to say, okay, I'm applying to this company, and it may not initially seem like it's going to be the best fit, but as you explore the company website, you might even talk to people that have worked there or currently work there and get more information about the company, what it's like, the culture, what kind of presence do they have around the world, is there travel opportunity, all different questions you can ask to get more prepared before you go in. Yeah. And then when you're in there, it's just a nice, relaxed conversation. It's not a presentation of how do I present myself so I look good. It's really a conversation to explore from them all about their company and then how you can connect the dots because you're listening openly without any attachment to anything happening, but connecting with the person that you're talking to.
Yeah. I guess what I'm hearing is that the key word is conversation. If somebody brings up, well, I've got to go to an interview, I immediately think of answering questions. But if I think of it in terms of a conversation, I'm not only answering questions, I'm also asking questions. I'm looking to connect with the other person. I'm engaging with them. I'm listening. I'm responding. There's a lot more going on than just how do I answer this question in the right way so that they'll pick me.
Exactly. You got it. And it's a dance. There's two people on the floor, not just one. It's not just one-sided. And that's what was happening with this particular client. It was very one-sided. She felt like she was in front of a firing squad. She needed to fend off whatever was happening. And so that energy was very catabolic, very guarded. Mm-hmm. When she started to relax and have more of a conversational approach, which is truly a level 5, level 6 interaction, she was more successful. And she ended up getting this dream job. It's with a phenomenal company, full of opportunity, a much bigger job than she was originally thinking she would get. And so she was ecstatic. And she said it was all because of the way she interviewed and that she approached it more relaxed and it worked for her. And it works for me when I have conversations with others and I talk about, a client, a prospective client, and we're really interviewing each other, whether we're going to work together or not. So I'm getting a lot of practice at this now too.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful experience. It's a part of the journey. Instead of it being a mandated thing you have to go through and make sure you pass and, sort of like trying out for the Army. It's not that. It can really be an enjoyable part of the process.
Yeah. Well, that's a much better picture than the bleak one that many of us have in mind when we think about interviewing, going through the job hunting process. What a difference to come at it with the approach of partnering together, looking to see what do I love about this company, how can I contribute, creating something new, creating an enjoyable work environment versus what more naturally comes to mind of please pick me and I need to fend off all these questions in the right way.
Right. It could be too that in that interview you discover, because you're more relaxed and you're more open and you're pulling out of the interviewer more about the company to really ensure that it's a good fit for you as well as them, you may discover that it's not a good fit.
Yeah.
And you've now spared yourself starting a job that you end up not enjoying. Mm-hmm. And you start tolerating a lot sooner than you would normally. So it's really an opportunity to flush out everything you can on the front end to ensure that you're really stepping into something you're going to love.
Great. Sherry, thanks so much for this discussion today.
Yeah, thank you, Phil.
And thank you also for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the Sherry Welsh Coaching Podcast on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, SoundCloud, and other podcast directories. For Sherry Welsh today, this is Phil Johnson. Thanks again for listening.